Hey, I'm David on Earth. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Many of you know me as a guy who's not always an ultralight guy, and for a lot of reasons. Now, ultralight gear can be expensive, but in this video, we're going to talk about ultralight gear you can get for 20 bucks. Stick around. All right, so I have a few products here, a couple of DIY projects you could do, and then a list of other tips. So let's get into it. So the first product, there's always a little bit of hesitancy among people who've never used this thing before. But let me tell you, once you get started using it, you're not going to turn back. It's a bidet. This one weighs like 0.1 ounce. It's crazy, a couple of grams, that's it. Now this takes the place of all the toilet paper you might bring, which reduces the bulk and also the weight. Now this particular bidet is from a company called Common Gear. This has a little hole right there, and you twist it onto the top of your water bottle, squirt it out. That's all it takes. Pretty simple stuff. Now this weighs about the same thing as 5 little squares of toilet paper. So you probably use this, in the first hour that you're on the trail. This will last you forever. Well, a long time. What happens if your toilet paper gets wet? You're out of luck. Boing. But this is a lot cleaner way to go about your business. And it also reduces the chafing that you get on long distance hikes, which is super uncomfortable. I have another video about this that I posted a couple years ago. Go ahead and check it out if you want to learn more about the benefits of this kind of thing and maybe the mechanics of how you would go about this. But so this bidet, very lightweight, saves you some bulk. Good option. Another thing that I'll do to reduce my weight is to, for instance, this little nightcap that I use. It's very comfy, keeps my head nice and warm. Love this thing. I also have this bandana or something similar that I'll take with me on the trail. And sometimes I'll also take this camp towel. All these things are great, but they weigh 5.4 ounces. Not bad, but if it's really nice weather and I'm on a schedule and I have to do some long distances, I need to cut down any weight that I possibly can. So I'll just bring my buff. This will keep my head warm at night and my ears. If I get too hot on the trail, I can dip it in water and put it around my neck. I can use it to take the condensation out of the inside of my tent in the morning. I can use it as a towel. Wipe my face off, whatever. Keep me clean. It's all there. And it's really easy to go down to the nearest stream or whatever and just rinse it out every day. This weighs 1.4 ounces. So that's about 75% decrease of all this stuff compared to this. Big deal? Usually not, but when it needs to be, this does the job. Now my go-to all-purpose soap is Dr. Bronner's. Comes in this bottle like this. Again, not too heavy, not too big, I would carry this in most cases. But if I need to cut down my weight, for all the reasons we already talked about, I get this tiny little dropper bottle. It weighs like 0.1 ounces, almost nothing. And since I only use a couple of drops of this a day, this will last me weeks if I fill this up. Compared to these things cost about 80 cents a piece, something like that. So you can save weight, it hardly costs anything, doesn't take up as much bulk, and it's just a simple little solution. In fact, if you can find a way to put all of your more bulky things in smaller containers, you'll save both weight and space. For instance, I do the same thing with my talcum powder. Carrying this, I carry this. Not a big deal, right? But this is half as much as this in terms of weight and size. If you can cut everything in your pack down by half, think of how much weight you could save and how much bulk you would save in your pack. If I'm on a long distance hike, I really don't have a need for a knife except maybe to cut open my food bags or maybe to cut a string or something like that. So why take a big knife, right? So if I'm going ultralight, this is ridiculously small. You know, I have several knives that I take for a lot of reasons, but when I go ultralight, I take this little thing. It's a little over an inch long. You don't even have to use this little ring that comes with it. Take it off, put it in your pocket. Now this is pretty easy to lose, but it's, if you're looking for lightweight, small, I think fully extended, it's you know, it's just that big. That's it. Now this is really sharp, and this blade does not lock. So there's a chance that it might slice you or it might flip back on you. So just be careful with it. This thing weighs like 0.18 ounces. You know, that's just a few grams. So very light. Again, very easy to lose. You might want to just, you know, I have this little loop here of string that I put over here. Sometimes I'll just do this, and I'll tie this to one of my pockets or one of my belt loops or something like that, so I don't lose it, because it's so small, it's really easy to lose. But again, super lightweight, great option. Now also, those of you who've known me for a while and you've watched a few of these things, I like DIY projects. I think they're just fun to do. And if you can do a DIY project for a lot less than you could buy something, and you could save a lot of weight by doing that, why wouldn't you do it? It's kind of a no-brainer, except you need a brain to be able to do this, so it's not really a no-brainer. You might have seen recently where I was filtering my water by just hanging my water bag up and let it drip into my bottle. Well, I hung it on a tree using this simple little DIY project. You just take a length of string. This is probably like 10 inches long or a foot or something. Just, you don't have to be too precise about it. On one end, you just tie a little loop, however you want to. You know, you can tie a bowline. You can just do a little, you know, hand over knot. Just make sure it's not a slip knot, and just tie this little loop on one end. Now on the other end, tie a toggle. Now this is just a half hitch, and I have a little granny knot at the end, but just somehow tie a toggle on that. And then when you can wrap it around a tree, this is a little bit too big. Just find a stick anywhere on the ground for your toggle, or you can make one yourself with a dowel, whatever you want to do. You wrap it around the tree or whatever, you put the toggle through the loop, and it tightens right out. So here's my little water bag I want to hang. I want to put this right through here. Put this around the tree branch or whatever. Put the toggle through the loop. And it tightens right up, right around there. So piece of cake, you know. This thing weighs like nothing. It's less than an ounce. It just doesn't weigh anything. People also use carabiners. That's fine. Carabiners don't go around some branches, some thicker branches. This would. And there's other applications for this as well. Anytime you need to hang anything from a tree branch, you can use this. So this comes in very handy for other things besides this. Now you may have noticed that once in a while I'll use a windscreen, especially around my alcohol stove. And all I do is use some aluminum foil that I've folded. So I've doubled up the aluminum foil just to make it a little bit more sturdy. And then I fold over the ends, put some holes in the bottom. So this is just made at home. It cost me like a penny or something. I don't know how much this much aluminum foil costs, but it's really nothing. Now these things are not super durable, and they're pretty flimsy when it gets too windy, so you have to put rocks or something, wood or something, just to hold it up to make sure it doesn't blow away in the wind. It's not as sturdy as some of those big aluminum ones you can buy, but this thing weighs, you know, less than an ounce. And this will last me probably about 30 or so days, camping days out there. Maybe a little bit more if I take extra care of it. So it's not super durable, but again, it's very cheap, it's very light, and if you're on a long distance hike, any restaurant will give you a little strip of aluminum foil so you can just go make this while you're out there on the trail. So no big deal. Easy to do, very light, DIY, hardly cost anything.
It's now time for tantalizing tips.
And here's a few other tips for saving weight. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't use a flashlight very often, like you're not going to hike at night and you just don't have a lot of uses for a flashlight in case of maybe like an emergency, why not just use your phone? Just use your phone as your flashlight. Granted, it doesn't have the red light feature, it doesn't have all those things that you would normally want in a flashlight, but if you're not going to use it very often, or even at all, why carry it? As long as you have your smartphone with you, you can just use that. The second little tip is a pillow. Now, I like bringing a pillow, and it's very rare that I won't bring a pillow. In those weird cases where I don't, I still need to do something under my head because I need to sleep a little bit elevated because of, some sinus issues I have. So what I'll do is I'll take a stuffed sack of some sort, and I'll fill it up with whatever clothes I have, any spare clothes, and it becomes my pillow. So at the end here, usually enough fluff. If you don't like all the crinkly sounds, you can take your buff. You have something that's not quite as noisy, provides enough height for you, maybe. So there you go. Makeshift pillow. Easy peasy. And this kind of ultralight thing, it's some people are just sold on it. They're big evangelists. Some people are not. I'm not. But when it makes sense to go ultralight, if I want to schedule, if I have to do a lot of miles a day, if maybe my knee's starting to act up and I just need to lighten up my weight, for whatever reason that you need to reduce your weight, these are the kind of things that you might want to consider, especially if they're all under 20 bucks. So be creative, be reasonable, but most of all, be you and do your hike the way you want to do it. And as always, go live like you want it. I'll see you on the trail.